The autumn rain fell heavily on the cobblestones of St. Andrew's University as Kate Middleton hurried across the courtyard, her books clutched tightly against her chest. She had been running late for her art history lecture, and the last thing she needed was to arrive soaking wet. As she rounded the corner near the library, her foot caught on an uneven stone, and she felt herself falling forward. Time seemed to slow as Kate watched her books scatter across the wet ground. She braced herself for the impact with the cold stones, but instead found herself caught in a pair of strong arms. Looking up, she met the concerned blue eyes of William Wales, a fellow student she had noticed around campus, but never spoken to. "Are you all right?" William asked, his voice gentle as he helped her steady herself. His hands remained on her arms for a moment longer than necessary, and Kate felt an unexpected warmth spread through her chest. "Yes, thank you," Kate replied, brushing a strand of damp hair from her face. "I'm such a mess today." She looked down at her scattered books and papers, some already beginning to soak in the puddles. William immediately knelt down to help gather her things. "Don't worry about it. These stones are treacherous when they're wet." He picked up her art history textbook, noting the subject. "Professor Henderson's class?" Kate nodded, surprised that he knew. "You take art history too?" "Geography, actually, but I've heard Henderson is brilliant." William handed her the last of her papers, their fingers brushing briefly as she took them. "I'm William, by the way." "Kate," she replied, though she already knew who he was. Everyone at St. Andrews knew William Wales, though most tried to pretend they didn't notice him. There was something refreshing about the way he had helped her without any show or drama. "Would you like me to walk you to class?" "I'm heading in that direction anyway," William offered, pulling his jacket closer against the rain. As they walked together across campus, Kate found herself relaxing despite her earlier embarrassment. William was easy to talk to, asking about her studies and sharing stories about his own experiences at university. There was no pretense about him, no hint of the formality she had expected. "I was terrified my first week here," William admitted as they approached the arts building. "I kept thinking everyone was staring at me, waiting for me to make a fool of myself." Kate looked at him with surprise. "Really? You always seemed so confident." William laughed, a genuine sound that made Kate smile. "That's all for show. Inside, I'm usually panicking about something." He paused at the entrance to the building. "This is where I leave you, I think." "Thank you for saving me from a very undignified fall," Kate said, meaning it. "Anytime," William replied, and something in his tone suggested he wasn't just being polite. "Perhaps I could take you for coffee sometime, to make up for the university's dangerous cobblestones." Kate felt her heart skip a beat. "I'd like that very much." Meanwhile, across the country in London, Camilla Parker Bowles sat in her drawing room, reading the morning papers. At 55, she had learned to navigate the complexities of her relationship with Charles with careful grace. Their affair had become public knowledge years ago, causing tremendous upheaval. But now there was talk of marriage once his divorce was finally settled. The phone rang, interrupting her thoughts. It was Charles, calling for Highgrove. "Darling, I've had the most interesting conversation with William," Charles said without preamble. "He's mentioned a girl at university. Kate something." Camilla set down her teacup carefully. "Oh, he's shown interest in someone. Seems quite taken with her, actually. Says she's studying art history. Very bright, very down-to-earth." Charles paused. "I thought you should know. If this develops into something serious, we'll need to be prepared." Camilla understood the implication immediately. Any relationship William formed would be scrutinized intensely, not just by the media, but by the royal establishment. And if Camilla was to become Charles's wife, she would inevitably play a role in William's life. "What do we know about her background?" Camilla asked practically. "Middle-class family, parents run a business of some sort. Nothing controversial that I'm aware of." Charles sounded pleased. "William seems happy, Camilla. It's been so long since I've heard him talk about anything with real enthusiasm." After Charles hung up, Camilla remained in her chair, staring out at the garden. She had watched William grow from a confused, grieving boy into a young man, carrying tremendous responsibility. The memory of his mother's funeral still haunted all of them, and Camilla was acutely aware of her role in the events that had led to Diana's unhappiness. She had never sought to replace Diana in William's affections, knowing such a thing was impossible. Instead, she had tried to be a steady presence in Charles's life, hoping that stability would somehow benefit his sons as well. Now, hearing that William had found someone who made him happy, Camilla felt a complex mix of emotions. Back at St. Andrews, William and Kate's coffee date had turned into a 3-hour conversation that neither wanted to end. They discovered shared interests in art, travel, and, surprisingly, a mutual love of terrible romantic comedies. "I can't believe you actually admitted to watching The Notebook 3 times, Kate teased as they walked along the beach near the university. "It was research," William protested with mock seriousness. "I needed to understand what women find romantic." "And what conclusion did you reach?" "That I'm doomed to disappoint," William said with a grin. "I can't compete with Ryan Gosling building a house." Kate laughed, the sound carrying on the ocean breeze. "I think you might be underestimating yourself." As weeks passed, William and Kate found themselves spending more and more time together. What had begun as casual coffee dates evolved into study sessions, long walks, and quiet dinners in William's shared flat. Kate discovered that beneath the royal training and public persona was someone remarkably normal, someone who worried about exams and complained about his flatmates cooking just like any other university student. William, for his part, was enchanted by Kate's naturalness. She treated him like any other person, calling him out when he was being ridiculous and offering genuine support when he struggled with the weight of his future responsibilities. With her, he could simply be himself. "Sometimes I forget what it's like to have a normal conversation," William confessed one evening as they sat by the fireplace in his flat. "Everyone's always so careful around me, watching what they say." Kate curled up in the armchair across from him. "I noticed that when we first met, people would literally change direction to avoid walking near you. Does it bother you? The attention, I mean. People are starting to notice us together." Kate had indeed noticed the whispered conversations that stopped when she approached, the way other students watched them when they thought she wasn't looking. "A little," she admitted, "but not enough to make me want to stop spending time with you." William felt something shift in his chest at her words. This girl, who could have chosen an easier path, was willing to accept the complications that came with caring about him. Their first real test came during university party when a photographer managed to get pictures of them together. The images were grainy and taken from a distance, but they clearly showed William with his arm around Kate as they left the event together. Charles called William the next morning. "The pictures will probably appear in the papers next week," he warned. "Are you prepared for what that means?" William looked across his room to where Kate was sleeping peacefully, unaware that their private world was about to become very public. "I think so," he said quietly. "We'll handle it together." When Camilla saw the photographs in the newspapers, she studied Kate's face carefully. The girl looked genuinely happy, laughing at something William had said. There was no calculation in her expression, no awareness of the cameras. Camilla recognized something authentic in the way Kate looked at William, something that reminded her of her own feelings for Charles in their early days. She called Charles immediately. "We need to meet with her," Camilla said without explanation. "If this is serious, she needs to understand what she's getting into." "Camilla, they're barely 20 years old. Let's not overwhelm the poor girl." "Charles, that girl is about to have her entire life examined under a microscope. If we care about William's happiness, we need to help her prepare for it." Camilla's words proved prophetic. Within days of the photographs appearing, reporters had tracked down Kate's hometown, interviewed her former teachers, and published articles about her family's business. The intensity was overwhelming for someone who had lived a completely private life. Kate found herself unable to leave her flat without encountering photographers. Her parents called daily, worried about the attention their family was receiving. The simple life she had known was disappearing rapidly. William watched Kate struggle with the media attention and felt a familiar anger building inside him. He had seen his mother destroyed by the same relentless scrutiny and the thought of Kate suffering the same fate made him feel helpless and furious. "Maybe we should take a break," Kate said one evening, her voice barely above a whisper, "until things calm down." "No," William said firmly, taking her hands in his. "That's exactly what they want. If we give in now, we'll never have a normal relationship." Kate looked into his eyes, seeing the determination there, but also the fear. She realized that this wasn't just about protecting their relationship. It was about William refusing to let the media control his life the way they had controlled his mother's. "Then, we'll face it together," Kate said, surprising herself with her own resolve. "But I'm going to need help learning how to handle all this." William pulled her close, feeling a surge of admiration for her courage. "I'll teach you everything I know. And there are people who can help us, people who understand what this is like." That night, as Kate slept beside him, William made a decision that would change both their lives. He would not let the woman he was falling in love with face this alone. Whatever it took, he would find a way to protect her while still allowing their relationship to grow. In London, Camilla sat up late into the night, reading every article about Kate Middleton she could find. The coverage was already becoming invasive, with journalists digging into every aspect of Kate's background. Camilla remembered her own experience with media attention and felt a protective instinct toward this young woman who had done nothing wrong except fall in love with the wrong person. She picked up the phone to call Charles, then hesitated. What she was about to propose would be controversial, but she believed it was necessary. If Kate Middleton was going to survive what was coming, she would need allies in places she didn't even know existed yet. The next morning, Camilla made a call to one of her oldest friends, someone who had helped her navigate her own difficult introduction to royal life. "I need a favor," she said simply. "There's a young woman who's about to need the kind of help only we can provide." 3 months had passed since the first photographs appeared, and Kate was learning that being connected to the royal family meant living under a microscope. Every outfit she wore was analyzed, every expression photographed, every movement documented. She had developed an instinct for sensing cameras, a skill she never thought she would need. William watched Kate adapt to the attention with a mixture of admiration and guilt. She handled the pressure with remarkable grace, but he could see the toll it was taking. The spontaneous girl who had laughed so freely was becoming more careful, more guarded. He hated that his world was changing her. "You're brooding again," Kate observed one afternoon as they sat in his flat, curtains drawn against the telephoto lenses positioned across the street. "I'm thinking about what this is costing you," William replied, not meeting her eyes. "Your freedom, your privacy, your family's peace." Kate moved to sit beside him on the sofa. "William, look at me." When he finally did, she continued, "I'm not going to pretend this is easy, but I'm choosing to be here. Every day, I choose to be here. Even when photographers follow you to the grocery store." Even then, Kate took his hand. "Though I'll admit, I never expected to become an expert at reading tabloid headlines while standing in the checkout line." William laughed despite himself. Kate had developed a dark sense of humor about their situation that never failed to surprise him. "What did they say about us today?" "Apparently, I'm either pregnant, anorexic, or secretly married to you, depending on which paper you read." Kate shrugged. "I've stopped trying to keep track." Meanwhile, in London, Camilla was having a very different conversation with Charles. They were in his study at Clarence House, the room where he conducted much of his private business. "The coverage is getting worse," Camilla said, spreading several newspapers across his desk. "They're not just following Kate anymore. They're investigating her entire family. Her parents' business records, her school grades, even her childhood friends are being contacted." Charles studied the headlines with a frown. "This feels familiar." "Too familiar," Camilla agreed grimly. "We both know where this kind of pressure can lead." They sat in silence for a moment, both remembering Diana's struggles with media attention and the tragic way her story had ended. Charles had watched helplessly as the woman he had once cared for was consumed by the relentless scrutiny that came with royal connections. "What do you suggest?" Charles asked finally. "I want to meet her," Camilla said. "Properly, I mean. Not some formal introduction at an official event." I want to talk to her as one woman to another, share what I've learned about surviving in this world. Charles looked surprised. Camilla, that could be seen as presumptuous. William and Kate are barely out of university. There's no guarantee this relationship will last. Look at these pictures, Charles. Camilla pointed to a photograph of William and Kate leaving a restaurant. Look at how he looks at her. Look at how she looks at him. This isn't a university romance that will burn out when they graduate. Charles studied the image more carefully. In it, William had his arm protectively around Kate as they navigated through a crowd of photographers. But what struck him was Kate's expression. Despite the chaos around them, she looked calm, focused entirely on William. And William's face showed a contentment Charles hadn't seen in his son since before Diana's death. "You really think this is serious?" Charles said. "I think your son has found someone who makes him happy in a way he's never been happy before," Camilla replied. "And I think that girl deserves better preparation for what she's facing than just trial by fire." Back at St. Andrews, Kate was discovering that the media attention was affecting more than just her immediate life. Her parents had received dozens of interview requests, her brother and sister were being followed by photographers, and even her childhood friends found themselves the subject of unwanted attention. "I feel like I'm dragging everyone I care about into this mess," Kate confided to William as they walked along the beach, their security detail maintaining a discreet distance. "It's not your fault," William said firmly. "And it's not a mess. This is just what happens when you're connected to my family. The people who truly care about you will understand. My mother is trying to be supportive, but I can see how stressed she is. Every time the phone rings, she tenses up, wondering if it's another journalist." Kate picked up a smooth stone and skipped it across the water. "Sometimes I wonder if I'm being selfish, putting everyone through this for my own happiness." William stopped walking and turned to face her. "Kate, don't let them make you feel guilty for caring about me. That's exactly what they want, to make this so difficult that you walk away. Is that what happened with other girls you dated?" William was quiet for a long moment. He had dated before, but never seriously and never under such intense scrutiny. "There haven't been others like this," he admitted. "Not like us." Kate felt something shift in her chest at his words. They had been dancing around the depth of their feelings for months, both aware that naming what was between them would make it real in a way that might be harder to escape from. "William," she said softly, "what are we doing here, really?" He understood what she was asking. Were they just two university students having a relationship that would naturally end when they graduated and moved on with their lives? Or was this something deeper, something with the potential to last? "I'm falling in love with you," William said simply. "If I haven't already fallen completely." Kate felt tears spring to her eyes. "I'm in love with you too, but I'm terrified of what that means." "It means we figure this out together," William replied, taking her hands. "It means I don't let them destroy what we have the way they destroyed so many things in my mother's life." That evening, Kate called her parents from William's flat. It was a conversation she had been dreading, but knew she needed to have. "Mom, I need you to know that William and I are serious about each other," Kate said without preamble. "This isn't just a university relationship anymore." Her mother, Carol, was quiet for a moment. "How serious are we talking about, Kate?" "I think I'm going to marry him someday," Kate said, surprising herself with the certainty in her voice. "I don't know when or how, but I think that's where this is heading." "Oh, Kate," her mother breathed. "Are you sure you're ready for what that would mean?" "I'm not sure anyone could ever be ready for this," Kate admitted. "But I know I love him, and I know he loves me, and I know I don't want to spend my life wondering what might have been." Her father, Michael, got on the phone then. "Kate, we support you whatever you decide. But you need to understand that if you marry William, you'll never have a private life again. Every decision you make, every word you say, will be scrutinized." "I know, Dad. But I also know that I can't make decisions based on fear of what other people might think or do." After the call ended, William found Kate sitting quietly by the window, looking out at the lights of the town below. "How do they take it?" he asked. "Better than I expected, actually. They're worried, but they trust me to make my own decisions." Kate turned to him. I told him I think I'm going to marry you someday. William felt his breath catch. What did you think when you said it? That it felt true, Kate replied honestly. Terrifying, but true. William sat beside her and pulled her close. I want to marry you too. Not now. We're too young, and there's too much we need to figure out first. But someday, when we're ready, when you've had time to really understand what this life would be like. How long do you think we have before everyone starts expecting an announcement? Years, William said. No one expects us to get engaged straight out of university. We'll have time to grow into this together. Meanwhile, Camilla had made her decision. Despite Charles's reservations, she contacted William's private secretary and arranged a meeting. Not at any royal residence where it might be observed and reported, but at her private home, somewhere Kate could feel more comfortable. I'd like to invite Miss Middleton for tea, Camilla explained to the secretary. Informally, just the two of us. I think it might be helpful for her to speak with someone who understands what she's experiencing. The invitation, when it reached Kate through William, was both thrilling and terrifying. She had never met Camilla, though she knew the complicated history between her and William's mother. Kate also knew that Camilla's opinion could significantly influence how the royal family viewed their relationship. What should I expect? Kate asked William as they prepared for the meeting. Camilla is direct, but kind, William said. She's not trying to trip you up or test you. I think she genuinely wants to help. Does she approve of me? She approves of how happy you make me, William replied. That's what matters to her. The day of the meeting arrived gray and drizzly. Kate dressed carefully in a simple but elegant outfit, wanting to make a good impression without appearing to try too hard. As her car pulled up to Camilla's country home, Kate felt her nerves spike. Camilla greeted her at the door personally, a gesture that immediately put Kate at ease. Miss Middleton, how lovely to meet you properly. Please, coming out of this dreadful weather. Thank you for inviting me, Mrs. Parker Bowles. And please call me Kate. Only if you'll call me Camilla. She led Kate into a cozy sitting room where tea was already laid out. I thought we might have a chance to talk, woman to woman, about what you're experiencing. As they settled in with their tea, Camilla studied Kate carefully. The young woman was undeniably beautiful, but there was something more substantial about her than mere looks. She had an air of self-possession that Camilla found impressive, especially given the circumstances. I won't pretend this is easy, Camilla began. Being connected to this family means accepting that your life will never be entirely your own again. I'm beginning to understand that, Kate replied. The hardest part is how it affects my family. They didn't choose this. No, they didn't. But they chose to raise a daughter who could handle it with grace, which they clearly did. Camilla smiled. I've been watching how you've managed the media attention. You have good instincts. I don't feel like I know what I'm doing most of the time. None of us did at first. I certainly didn't when I first became involved with Charles. Camilla's expression grew more serious. Kate, I want you to understand something important. What happened with Diana, the media pressure, the public scrutiny that became so destructive, it doesn't have to happen again. Kate set down her teacup. How can you be so certain? Because the circumstances are different. Diana was 19 when she got engaged, thrust into a world she knew nothing about with very little preparation. You're older. You've had time to observe this life before committing to it. And, most importantly, you have William's complete support. Sometimes I wonder if love is enough, Kate admitted. When I see what this attention is doing to my family, when I think about never being able to have a normal conversation in public again, I wonder if I'm being naive. Camilla was quiet for a moment, remembering her own moments of doubt. Let me tell you something about William that you might not realize. He has spent his entire adult life determined not to repeat his parents' mistakes. He has thought more carefully about marriage and relationships than most men his age ever will. If he's chosen you, it's not a decision he's made lightly. How can you be sure? Because I've watched him grow up. I've seen him struggle with his parents' divorce, his mother's death, his father's remarriage. I've seen him vow never to put someone he loves through the kind of pain his mother experienced. Camilla leaned forward slightly. Kate, that young man is not just in love with you. He's committed to protecting you. to making sure your story has a different ending. Kate felt tears threatening. It's just so overwhelming sometimes. Of course it is, but you don't have to face it alone. If this relationship continues to develop, you'll have support from people who understand what you're going through. Camilla paused. Including me, if you want it. You would do that? Even though I'm not his mother, Camilla finished gently. Kate, I can never replace Diana in William's life, nor would I want to. But I could be someone who cares about his happiness, and by extension, your happiness. As Kate drove back to St. Andrews that evening, she felt something she hadn't experienced since the media attention began. Hope. Camilla had offered her something invaluable, the perspective of someone who had survived and even thrived in the royal world. When she arrived at William's flat, she found him pacing nervously, waiting to hear how the meeting had gone. Well, he asked immediately. She's remarkable, Kate said simply. I understand now why your father loves her. William visibly relaxed. What did you talk about? Everything. The media pressure, what to expect, how to protect the people I love. Kate sat down and pulled William down beside her. William, she made me understand something important. This doesn't have to be the story of another young woman destroyed by royal life. We can write our own story. What changed your mind? She helped me see that the difference between us and what happened before is that we're going into this with our eyes open. We're not naive children stumbling into something we don't understand. We know it will be difficult, but we're choosing it anyway. William pulled her close. So you're not going to run away to a convent and leave me to pine away dramatically? Kate laughed. Not today, anyway. Though I reserve the right to change my mind if you start wearing those awful sweaters your father favors. Deal, William said, kissing the top of her head. Though I can't promise anything about the sweaters. Apparently, bad fashion sense is hereditary in my family. As they sat together in the quiet of his flat, both Kate and William felt something settle between them. The path ahead would not be easy, but they would walk it together. And for the first time since this had all begun, that felt like enough. 2 years had passed since that first meeting with Camilla, and Kate had graduated from St. Andrews with a degree in art history. She had expected the media attention to die down after university, but if anything, it had intensified. Every job interview she attended became front-page news, every friendship was analyzed for hidden meanings, and every public appearance was dissected by royal watchers. William had begun his military training at Sandhurst, while Kate found herself in the strange position of being one of the most photographed people in Britain despite having no official role or title. The press had dubbed her Weighty Katie, a nickname that stung more than she cared to admit. It's not fair, William said during one of their phone calls from Sandhurst. You're being treated like you're already engaged to me, but without any of the protection that would come with an official relationship. Kate was sitting in her London flat, curtains drawn against the photographers who maintained a constant vigil outside. I knew what I was signing up for, she said, though the words felt hollow even to her. Did you, though? Did either of us really understand it would be this intense for this long? Kate was quiet for a moment. The truth was that some days she wondered if she had made a terrible mistake. She couldn't take a job without it becoming a media circus that disrupted the workplace. She couldn't maintain normal friendships without her friends being harassed for information. She couldn't even go shopping without creating a spectacle that affected other customers. Kate, are you still there? I'm here, she said softly. William, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be completely honest with me. Anything. Where is this going? Because I can't keep living in this limbo indefinitely. I'm 25 years old, and I feel like my life is on hold waiting for you to decide if you want to marry me or not. William was silent on the other end of the line. It was a conversation they had been avoiding for months, but Kate's words forced him to confront what he had been trying not to think about. I want to marry you, he said finally. But I'm terrified of rushing into something as important as marriage because of media pressure. I've seen what happens when royal marriages are based on anything other than absolute certainty. So what do you need to be certain? Time, William admitted. Time to finish my military service. Time for us both to be absolutely sure this is what we want. Time for you to experience more of what royal life would actually be like. Kate felt a familiar frustration building. How much time, William? Because while you're taking time to be certain, I'm losing pieces of myself every day. I can't build a career. I can't have normal relationships. I can't even have a private conversation without wondering if someone is recording it. Meanwhile, Camilla was having her own difficult conversation with Charles. They were walking through the gardens at Highgrove, discussing the increasingly problematic situation surrounding William and Kate. The girl is being destroyed by inches, Camilla said bluntly. Every day she remains in this limbo makes her position more untenable. William needs to be sure, Charles replied. I can't pressure him into marriage. Look what happened when I was pressured into marrying Diana before I was ready. This is different, and you know it, Camilla said firmly. Diana was a teenager who barely knew you. Kate is a grown woman who has spent years understanding exactly what she would be signing up for. The question isn't whether she's suitable for William. It's whether we're going to let her be torn apart while he makes up his mind. What do you suggest? I suggest we help her build a life that doesn't depend entirely on William's timeline. If she's going to survive this, she needs purpose, she needs protection, and she needs to know that she has value beyond just being William's girlfriend. Charles considered this. You're talking about bringing her into the fold unofficially. I'm talking about treating her like family, because whether William proposes tomorrow or 5 years from now, she is part of this family. The only question is whether we support her or watch her be destroyed by neglect. Back in London, Kate was having lunch with her mother, one of the few people she could speak to openly about her situation. I'm proud of how you've handled everything, Carol Middleton said, reaching across the table to squeeze her daughter's hand. But I'm worried about you. You seem diminished lately. Kate looked down at her barely touched salad. I feel like I'm disappearing. Every decision I make has to be filtered through how it will look in the newspapers. Every word I say might be repeated and analyzed. I'm starting to forget who I was before all this. Do you regret it? Being with William? No, Kate said immediately. I love him completely, but I'm beginning to understand that love might not be enough if I lose myself completely in the process. What would you do if you were just Kate Middleton, not William's girlfriend? Kate considered the question. I think I want to work with children, maybe in early education or art therapy. I want to travel, to learn new languages, to have adventures. What's stopping you from doing those things now? The media attention makes it impossible. Any charity I work with gets overwhelmed by photographers. Any course I take becomes a circus. Any trip I take is analyzed for hidden meanings. That evening, Kate received an unexpected phone call from Camilla. I hope you don't mind me calling directly, Camilla said. But I've been thinking about our conversation from a few years ago, and I wonder if you might join me for dinner this week. There are some people I'd like you to meet. Kate was intrigued. What kind of people? People who understand the unique challenges you're facing and who might be able to offer some practical advice about moving forward. The dinner was held at a private club in London, away from prying eyes. Camilla had invited several women who had married into aristocratic or royal families, all of whom had faced similar media scrutiny and public pressure. The key, said Lady Sarah Armstrong-Jones, is to develop a sense of purpose that exists independently of your relationship. The public needs to see you as a person with your own value, not just as William's appendage. But how do you do that when every move is photographed and analyzed? Kate asked. You choose your battles carefully, replied the Duchess of Gloucester. You find causes that matter to you and commit to them quietly and consistently. The media will follow at first, but eventually they become bored with consistency. Drama is what sells newspapers, not steady charitable work. You also need to develop a thick skin about criticism, added Princess Alexandra. There'll always be people who think you're not good enough, not smart enough, not aristocratic enough. You have to decide whose opinion actually matters to you. Camilla watched Kate absorb this advice. The most important thing, she added, is to remember that you are not responsible for other people's reactions to your choices. You are only responsible for making choices you can live with. After dinner, Camilla and Kate walked slowly back to Kate's car. Why are you doing this? Kate asked. Helping me, I mean. You barely know me. Camilla was quiet for a moment. Because I know what it's like to be in an impossible situation, blamed for circumstances largely beyond your control. I know what it's like to have your entire life reduced to someone else's narrative about you. It must have been incredibly difficult, all those years when you and Charles couldn't be together openly. It was. But it also taught me something valuable. That you have to find ways to live authentically even when the world is telling you that you don't have the right to exist. Camilla stopped walking and turned to face Kate. You have every right to exist, Kate. With or without William, with or without a title, you have value as a person. Don't let anyone convince you otherwise. Kate felt tears in her eyes. Sometimes I feel like I'm holding my breath, waiting for my real life to begin. Then, stop holding your breath. Start living. Find work that matters to you. Travel if you want to travel. Take classes if you want to learn. Stop putting your life on hold for a proposal that may or may not come on a timeline that may or may not work for you. That night, Kate called William at Sandhurst. I've made a decision, she said without preamble. I'm going to start building a life that doesn't revolve around waiting for you. William was quiet for a moment. What does that mean? It means I'm going to find work that matters to me, even if it causes media attention at first. It means I'm going to travel and learn and grow as a person. It means I'm going to stop putting my life on hold. Kate, that sounds like you're preparing to leave me. I'm preparing to be with you as an equal, not as someone whose only purpose is to wait for you to be ready for marriage. If you want to marry me someday, you'll be marrying a woman with her own life and her own accomplishments, not someone whose only achievement is being patient. William felt a chill of fear. Are you giving me an ultimatum? No. I'm giving myself permission to have a life. If you love me, you'll want that for me too. After they hung up, William sat in his small room at Sandhurst, staring at the ceiling. Kate's words had shaken him more than he wanted to admit. He had been so focused on protecting their relationship from outside pressure that he hadn't considered the pressure he was putting on her by keeping her in indefinite limbo. Over the following weeks, William watched from a distance as Kate began to rebuild her life. She accepted a position with a children's charity despite the initial media frenzy. She enrolled in a photography course at Central St. Martin's. She planned a trip to India with friends, her first solo travel since their relationship became public. The change in Kate was remarkable. The defeated, diminished quality that had been growing in her over the past months was replaced by something vibrant and determined. She handled media attention with new confidence, neither hiding from it nor playing to it, but simply continuing with her life regardless of who was watching. She's different, Charles observed to Camilla after seeing Kate at a charity event. More confident, more substantial somehow. She's remembered who she is beyond being William's girlfriend, Camilla replied. It's exactly what she needed to do. William seems rattled by it. Good. He was taking her for granted, assuming she would wait indefinitely while he sorted out his feelings. Now he has to actually decide what he wants instead of just drifting along. William was indeed rattled. Watching Kate flourish independently had made him realize how much he had been constraining her with his indecision. More than that, it had made him see her with fresh eyes. This wasn't the insecure girl who had fallen into his arms at university. This was a woman who could handle anything life threw at her, including the complexities of royal existence. When Kate returned from India, glowing with confidence and full of stories about the children she had worked with at an orphanage there, William knew he had reached a decision point. I've been an idiot, he said as they walked along the Thames on her first evening back. Oh, Kate replied, clearly amused. In what specific way? I've been so afraid of rushing into marriage for the wrong reasons that I nearly lost you for equally wrong reasons. I've been asking you to put your life on hold while I figured out mine, which was unfair and selfish. Kate stopped walking. And what do I do about that? William stopped too and turned to face her. I want to ask you to marry me. Not because of media pressure or family expectations or timelines, but because you are extraordinary and I don't want to spend my life without you. Kate felt her heart racing. William, but first, I want to watch you continue building the life you've started. I want to support your work and your travels and your growth as a person. I want to earn the right to ask you to share all of that with me." Kate smiled, feeling something settle in a place inside her chest. "How long do you think that will take? However long it take for you to feel completely certain that marrying me would be adding to your life, not limiting it." For the first time in months, Kate felt truly hopeful about their future. Not because William had promised to propose, but because he had finally understood what she needed: to be seen as a whole person deserving of respect and consideration, not just someone whose only value lay in her willingness to wait. Meanwhile, Camilla watched the renewed energy between William and Kate with satisfaction. She had seen too many royal relationships destroyed by pressure and expectation. This time, she was determined to help create a different outcome, one built on mutual respect and genuine partnership rather than duty and resignation. The year that followed Kate's return from India was transformative for both her and William. Kate had thrown herself into her charitable work with a passion that surprised even her. Her position with the children's charity had evolved into a more substantial role, and she was beginning to carve out her own identity in the public sphere. William, having completed his training at Sandhurst, was now a commissioned officer and had begun his service with the Blues and Royals. The structure and purpose of military life suited him, but it also meant long periods of separation from Kate that tested their relationship in new ways. "I miss having you as my anchor," William confessed during a phone call from his base. "When I'm here dealing with the pressures of service and knowing that everything I do reflects on the crown, I wish I could come home to you every night." Kate, who was reviewing proposals for a new early childhood development program, paused her work. "You do come home to me, just not every night. And, William, you need to know that you're my anchor too, but I can't be your only source of strength. That's too much pressure for any relationship." "What do you mean?" "I mean that healthy relationships are built between two whole people who choose to share their lives, not between one person and another person whose only purpose is to provide support." Kate had learned this lesson the hard way during her months of feeling lost and purposeless. "I love being your anchor, but I need you to have other sources of strength too." This conversation marked a shift in how William approached both his military service and his relationship with Kate. Instead of seeing his duties as obstacles to their relationship, he began to understand them as part of becoming the man Kate deserved to marry. Meanwhile, Kate's work was attracting positive attention from unexpected quarters. The Queen herself had begun to take notice of the young woman who had handled years of intense scrutiny with such grace. During a private tea at Windsor Castle, the Queen spoke with Kate about her charitable work. "I understand you've been working with early childhood development initiatives," the Queen said, her tone carefully neutral. "Yes, Your Majesty. I've become particularly interested in how early experiences shape a child's emotional development and future relationships." Kate had prepared for this conversation, but found herself relaxing as the Queen's genuine interest became apparent. "That's important work. Not always visible or glamorous, but important nonetheless." The Queen paused, studying Kate carefully. "Tell me, how are you finding the public attention? I imagine it's been quite an adjustment." Kate considered how to answer honestly without complaining. "It's been challenging, Your Majesty, but also educational. I've learned that I can't control what people say about me, but I can control what I do with my time and energy." Wise words. They suggest maturity beyond your years. After Kate left that day, the Queen spoke privately with Charles. "She's grown into herself," the Queen observed. "When I first met her, she seemed overwhelmed by everything. Now she seems to understand her own worth." "Camilla has been instrumental in that transformation," Charles replied. "She's provided Kate with guidance that none of us could have offered." The Queen nodded thoughtfully. "Camilla understands what it's like to be misunderstood by the public. She's been able to offer Kate perspective that comes from genuine experience." That evening, Camilla received an unexpected call from the Queen's private secretary, inviting her to tea at Buckingham Palace. Such invitations were rare and always significant. I wanted to thank you for the support you've provided to Miss Middleton, the Queen said once they were settled in her private sitting room. She's clearly benefited from having someone who understands the unique pressures she's been facing. Camilla was touched by the acknowledgement. She's a remarkable young woman, Your Majesty. She just needed someone to remind her of her own strength. Yes, well, it's clear that your guidance has been effective. She's handling herself with real dignity, and that reflects well on all of us. The Queen paused. I understand that you and Charles are planning to marry soon. Yes, Your Majesty. This spring, if all goes according to plan. Good. It's time. And when you become part of this family officially, I hope you'll continue to provide guidance to Kate. I suspect she'll need it even more once she becomes officially engaged to William. Camilla felt the weight of the Queen's words. She was being asked to take on a mentoring role that would become even more important as Kate's position in the royal family solidified. That winter, William received news that would change everything. He was being deployed to Afghanistan with his regiment. The deployment would last 6 months, and, for security reasons, the details would not be made public until after his return. I have to go, William told Kate as they sat in his flat, the deployment orders on the table between them. I know the timing is terrible, but this is what I trained for. Kate studied the papers, her heart sinking. 6 months felt like an eternity, especially when their relationship was finally finding its rhythm again. When do you leave? 3 weeks. Kate was quiet for a long moment, processing what this meant. Will I be able to contact you? Limited contact for security reasons. Letters occasionally, very brief phone calls when possible. William reached for her hands. Kate, I need you to know that this changes nothing about how I feel about you or our future plans. But it changes everything about the timeline. It delays things, yes, but not permanently. William hesitated, then made a decision that surprised them both. Kate, when I come back from Afghanistan, I want to propose to you. I'm not asking you to wait indefinitely anymore. I'm asking you to wait 6 months for me to come home so I can ask you properly. Kate felt her breath catch. Are you sure? I've never been more sure of anything in my life. This deployment has made me realize that I don't want to waste any more time being cautious about our future. Life is uncertain, and the one thing I'm certain of is that I want to spend mine with you. They spent William's remaining time in England making plans and promises. Kate would continue her charitable work, and William would write to her whenever possible. They made a pact not to announce their understanding to anyone else, wanting to keep this decision private until William returned and could propose properly. The night before William left for Afghanistan, he gave Kate a simple silver bracelet. It's not an engagement ring, he said as he fastened it around her wrist, but it's a promise that I'm coming back to you, and when I do, I'll have a proper ring and a proper proposal. Kate touched the bracelet gently. I'll be here when you get back. Not waiting passively, but living my life and building our future. I know you will. That's one of the things I love most about you. The months that followed were some of the most difficult of Kate's life, but also some of the most defining. Without William's physical presence to anchor her, she was forced to navigate the royal world entirely on her own. The media attention actually intensified in William's absence, with constant speculation about their relationship and whether the deployment would end their romance. Camilla became an even more important source of support during this period. She invited Kate to join her at various charitable events, providing her with opportunities to develop her public persona while also offering protection from the most intrusive media attention. The key, Camilla advised during one particularly difficult week when rumors were swirling about Kate seeing other men, is to stay focused on your work and let your actions speak for themselves. Don't dignify ridiculous speculation with responses. Kate followed this advice, throwing herself into her charitable work with even greater intensity. She developed a program that paired art therapy with early childhood development, something that combined her university education with her growing passion for children's welfare. The program was so successful that it caught international attention. Kate found herself invited to speak at conferences and to advise other organizations on similar initiatives. For the first time since becoming known as William's girlfriend, she was being recognized for her own accomplishments. "She's really coming into her own," Charles observed to Camilla after watching Kate deliver a speech about child development to a gathering of international charity leaders. "She's exactly what this family needs," Camilla replied. "Someone who understands that royal duty isn't just about ceremonies and appearances. It's about using your platform to make a real difference." Meanwhile, in Afghanistan, William was discovering that military service was teaching him things about leadership and responsibility that he could never have learned in royal training. Leading men in dangerous situations required a different kind of authority than cutting ribbons or making speeches. "You're different," his commanding officer observed during one of William's performance reviews. "More decisive, more confident in your own judgment." William knew it was true. The combination of being away from the royal fishbowl and being responsible for real lives and real danger had stripped away the last of his uncertainty about who he was and what he was capable of. His letters to Kate reflected this growing confidence. Where once he had written about his fears and doubts, now he wrote about plans and dreams. He described the children he met in Afghanistan and the schools that needed support. He talked about how their future together could involve real service, not just ceremonial duty. Kate treasured these letters, reading them over and over. She could see William growing into the man he was meant to be, just as she was growing into the woman she was meant to be. The separation was painful, but it was also transformative. Both Kate and William were using this time to become fully themselves, independently of each other. They were learning that love wasn't enough for a successful marriage. They also needed to be partners who could support each other's growth rather than people who needed each other to feel complete. As William's deployment neared its end, Kate found herself both excited and nervous. She had changed so much in the months he had been gone. She was more confident, more accomplished, more secure in her own identity. Would William still be the same man who had promised to propose when he returned? Her questions were answered when William called her from base the week before his return. "Kate, I need you to know that these 6 months have been the most important of my life," he said, his voice clear despite the distant connection. "Not just because of what I've experienced here, but because of what you've accomplished there. I've been following your work, and I'm so proud of what you've built." "I've missed you terribly," Kate replied, "but I'm glad we had this time apart. I think we both needed to prove to ourselves that we could be strong independently. When I come home, I'm not coming back as someone who needs you to complete him. I'm coming back as someone who chooses to share his complete life with you." Kate felt tears in her eyes. "That's all I ever wanted, William. Not to be your other half, but to be your partner." "Then get ready," William said, and she could hear the smile in his voice. "Because I'm coming home with a ring and a proposal, and I plan to spend the rest of my life being worthy of the extraordinary woman you've become." As Kate hung up the phone, she looked around the life she had built in William's absence. She had work that mattered, relationships that sustained her, and a sense of purpose that existed independently of her romantic relationship. She was ready to say yes to William's proposal, not because she needed him to feel complete, but because she wanted to share the complete life she had built with the man she loved. Camilla, watching Kate prepare for William's return, felt a deep satisfaction. The frightened young woman who had fallen into William's arms at university had become a confident, accomplished woman who was walking into his arms by choice. This time, Kate wasn't falling. She was choosing to embrace a future she had helped to create. William returned from Afghanistan on a cold February morning, and Kate was there to meet him at the airfield. As she watched him step off the transport plane, she was struck by how much he had changed. The uncertain young man who had left 6 months earlier had been replaced by someone who carried himself with quiet authority and purpose. When William saw Kate waiting for him, he broke into the first genuine smile he had worn in months. She looked radiant, more beautiful than he remembered, but it was more than physical beauty. There was something luminous about her confidence, Something magnetic about the way she stood waiting for him without any of the nervous energy that had once characterized their reunions. Their embrace was witnessed by only military personnel and security, but it felt like the most important moment of both their lives. They held each other without speaking, both aware that they were different people than they had been 6 months ago, both hoping that the changes would bring them closer together rather than driving them apart. "You look like yourself," Kate said as they finally pulled apart. "More yourself than you've ever looked." "So do you," William replied, studying her face. "Beautiful and strong and completely sure of who you are." They spent the next 3 days reacquainting themselves with each other. William told Kate about his experiences in Afghanistan, the responsibility he had carried, the men he had led, the children he had met. Kate shared the details of her work, the program she had developed, the recognition she had received, the confidence she had found. "I was afraid," William admitted as they walked through Hyde Park on his 3rd day back. "Afraid that we would have grown in different directions, that 6 months apart would have shown us we didn't need each other after all. And what do you think now? I think we've grown in exactly the right directions. We've become people who would choose each other even if we met for the first time tomorrow." Kate smiled. "I think you're right." That evening, William took Kate to the same restaurant where they had had their first official date years earlier. Kate suspected something was planned, but tried not to have expectations. She had learned over the years that expecting specific romantic gestures from William usually led to disappointment. "I have something I need to tell you," William said once they were seated in a private corner booth. "Something I've known for certain since before I left for Afghanistan, but I needed to prove to myself that I could be the man you deserve." Kate felt her heart start to race, but kept her expression calm. "What is it?" William reached across the table and took her hands. "I've learned what love actually means. It's not needing someone to complete you. It's not even feeling like you can't live without someone. It's choosing to build a life with someone because the life you could build together is better than anything either of you could build alone." "William, let me finish. I've learned what partnership means. It's not one person supporting the other. It's 2 strong people choosing to face the world together, each making the other stronger." William paused, his thumbs stroking across her knuckles. "I've learned what respect means. It's not just admiring someone. It's trusting them to make good decisions, supporting their dreams even when they're different from your own, and never asking them to diminish themselves for your comfort." Kate felt tears starting to form in her eyes. "Most importantly," William continued, "I've learned what commitment means. It's not promising to stay together forever no matter what happens. It's promising to keep choosing each other every day, to keep working on the relationship, to keep growing together rather than growing apart." William released her hands and reached into his jacket pocket. "Kate Middleton, I'm not asking you to complete me or save me or give up anything important to you. I'm asking you to marry me because I want to spend my life being worthy of you, supporting your dreams, and building something together that neither of us could build alone." He pulled out a ring box and opened it, revealing a stunning sapphire engagement ring surrounded by diamonds. Kate recognized it immediately. It had been Diana's ring. "This was my mother's," William said quietly. "I want you to have it because I know she would have loved you, and because I want her to be part of our beginning, not a shadow hanging over it." Kate stared at the ring, overwhelmed by the gesture. She understood what William was offering her, not just marriage, but integration into his family's history and legacy. He was asking her to become not just his wife, but a bridge between his past and his future. "Yes," Kate said simply. "Yes, I want to marry you. I want to build a life with you. I want to be your partner in everything." William slipped the ring onto her finger with trembling hands. It fit perfectly, as if it had been waiting for her all these years. "I love you," he said, and the words carried a weight and certainty they had never had before. "I love your strength, your kindness, your intelligence, your independence. I love who you are when we're together and who you are when we're apart. I love the woman you've become and the woman you're still becoming." "I love you too," Kate replied. "All of you." The prince and the soldier and the man and the boy who still worries about disappointing people. I love our past, and I love our future. They sat for a long moment, looking at each other across the table, both aware that their lives had just changed irrevocably. They were no longer just William and Kate, two people in love. They were now the future of the British monarchy, partners in a role that would define the rest of their lives. The announcement of their engagement was made 3 weeks later, after careful planning by the Royal Communications team. The response was overwhelmingly positive. The public had watched Kate's journey from university student to accomplished woman with growing affection, and her grace under pressure had earned widespread respect. Camilla watched the announcement coverage with deep satisfaction. She had gambled that supporting Kate rather than viewing her as a threat would benefit everyone involved, and that gamble had paid off spectacularly. Kate had become everything Camilla had hoped, a strong, independent woman who could hold her own in the royal family while bringing warmth and authenticity to the monarchy. "She's going to be magnificent," Camilla told Charles as they watched William and Kate's engagement interview on television. "Look at how comfortable she is, how natural. She's not performing being royal. She's just being herself." Charles nodded, studying the young couple on screen. "William looks happier than I've ever seen him. That's your doing, you know. You helped Kate become someone who could be his true partner rather than just his consort. She did that herself. I just reminded her that she had the strength to do it." In the interview, Kate spoke eloquently about her charitable work, her excitement about taking on royal duties, and her love for William. She wore Diana's ring with confidence, speaking warmly about William's mother and her hope to honor Diana's memory through her own service. "I understand that marrying William means accepting a level of public scrutiny that most people never experience," Kate said to the interviewer. "But I've had years to prepare for that, and I've learned that the key is to stay focused on the work that matters and the people you serve." "Are you nervous about becoming a member of the royal family?" Kate smiled. "Of course I am. It's an enormous responsibility. But I'm also excited. William and I share a vision for how we want to serve, and I can't wait to start building that vision together." The wedding planning began immediately, with Kate insisting on a balance between royal tradition and personal touches that reflected who she and William had become. She wanted the ceremony to feel authentic rather than purely ceremonial. "I want people to see that this is a real marriage between two people who genuinely love each other," Kate explained to the wedding planner. "Not just a royal spectacle." As the wedding date approached, Kate found herself reflecting on the journey that had brought her to this point. She thought about the terrified girl who had fallen into William's arms at university, about the young woman who had nearly lost herself in the media attention, about the transformation that had occurred during William's deployment. "Do you have any regrets?" her sister Pippa asked as they reviewed seating charts for the reception. Kate considered the question seriously. "I regret how long it took me to understand my own worth. I regret the years I spent feeling like I was just marking time, waiting for my real life to begin. But I don't regret anything that led me to who I am now. Even the difficult years, the media attention, the criticism, the uncertainty, especially those years. They taught me who I really am underneath all the external pressure. Without going through that, I might have married William for the wrong reasons, or might have lost myself completely in royal life." The night before the wedding, Kate sat alone in her childhood bedroom, wearing her mother's dressing gown and looking at Diana's ring on her finger. Tomorrow she would become the Duchess of Cambridge, and eventually, if all went according to plan, the Queen of England. The magnitude of what she was taking on should have been terrifying, but instead she felt calm and ready. William had texted her earlier. "Tomorrow we start our real adventure together. I can't wait to see what we build." Kate had replied, "Tomorrow I get to marry my best friend and my equal. I can't wait either." As she finally fell asleep, Kate thought about Camilla, who had shown her that it was possible to survive and thrive in the royal world while remaining true to yourself. She thought about the Queen, who had demonstrated quiet strength and dignity for decades. She thought about Diana, whose memory would always be part of William's life, and now part of hers as well. The wedding day dawned clear and beautiful. As Kate made her way to Westminster Abbey, she felt no nervousness, only excitement. She was not a frightened girl being led to an uncertain future. She was a confident woman choosing to share her life with someone who valued and respected her completely. When William saw Kate walking down the aisle toward him, he felt his breath catch. She was luminous with happiness and confidence, moving toward him with the grace of someone who knew exactly where she belonged. This was not someone falling into his arms out of accident or need. This was someone choosing to stand beside him as an equal partner. Camilla, watching from the congregation, felt tears in her eyes. She had helped shepherd this young woman from uncertainty to strength, had watched her transform from someone who doubted her own worth into someone who radiated confidence and purpose. Kate's journey to this altar had been long and sometimes difficult, but it had produced exactly the right outcome. As William and Kate exchanged vows, promising to support each other's dreams and to face their duties together as partners, Camilla allowed herself a moment of pure satisfaction. She had not shed a tear of sadness or regret. Instead, she had watched without any sorrow as Kate fell into William's arms one final time, not from weakness or accident, but from strength and choice. The new Duchess of Cambridge was ready to help reshape the monarchy for a new generation, and Camilla had played her part in making that possible. Sometimes the greatest gift you could give someone was not rescuing them, but helping them discover they had the strength to rescue themselves. As the newly married couple left the Abbey to begin their life together, Kate caught Camilla's eye and smiled, a smile full of gratitude and affection for the woman who had helped her find her way. Camilla smiled back, knowing that Kate would never need rescuing again. She had learned to fall on purpose with grace and dignity and strength. The fairy tale had ended, but the real story of partnership, service, and authentic love was just beginning.